In recent political discussions, a major topic has been the growing divide within the Republican Party. A closer look at the data and election results reveals a troubling reality for the GOP. The latest polls and election outcomes from earlier this month indicate that Donald Trump, once the dominant figure in the party, is now causing more harm than good. The Republican Party, in fact, seems to be suffering because of his influence. As more time passes, it becomes clear that Trump's presence is leading to serious consequences for the GOP's political future. Increasingly, Republicans, both in power and among the general voter base, are speaking out against Trump's leadership. This shift in sentiment is not just a few isolated cases but a broader trend. More Republican voters and even elected officials are stating that they can no longer support Trump or follow his direction. They argue that his actions and policies have become a liability, harming the party's ability to succeed in future elections. The frustration is evident as many are backing away from Trump, signaling that they see his influence as damaging. In fact, many Republican leaders are making it clear that their future success depends on distancing themselves from him. This is a sharp contrast to earlier periods, when Trump's influence seemed unquestioned and his every word was followed. As this frustration grows, Trump himself has reacted angrily to what he perceives as disloyalty from members of his own party. His response to this rebellion has been intense, with him lashing out on social media and calling for the replacement of those who do not fall in line. For instance, in Indiana, Trump expressed his anger after state officials refused to follow his request for gerrymandering reforms. This outburst reflects his increasing frustration with what he sees as a betrayal of his agenda. But despite this, many of those Republicans who have resisted Trump are simply acting in their own best political interests, rather than following his often controversial demands. The situation is becoming increasingly untenable. On one hand, there is a growing number of Republicans who are fed up with Trump and want to move away from his influence. On the other hand, there are his staunch allies like Steve Bannon, who believe the real issue lies not in Trump's actions but in his lack of control over the party. According to Bannon and other supporters, the GOP's problems stem from the fact that Trump hasn't been able to fully dominate the party as he once did. Instead of acknowledging that his leadership is a liability, they argue that the solution is for Trump to regain control by being even more forceful and aggressive in asserting his will. The tension within the Republican Party is not only about Trump's influence but also about how his supporters view the situation. Some of his most dedicated allies, including former chief strategist Steve Bannon, argue that Trump has not been forceful enough in pushing his agenda. Bannon, along with others, believes the problem isn't Trump's actions, but that the Republican Party hasn't fully embraced his leadership. In their eyes, the GOP struggles can be traced back to Republicans failing to completely follow Trump's direction. This group feels that if Trump had more control over the party, his agenda would be successfully implemented, leading to greater success in future elections. Bannon's rhetoric is especially telling. He insists that Trump must, bang heads, to force Republicans to toe the line and implement his policies without hesitation. Bannon and his supporters argue that Trump's agenda is sound and that the only reason it hasn't succeeded is because of the lack of full backing from within his own party. They believe that if Trump were more aggressive in asserting control, the GOP would be in a stronger position. But their reasoning is flawed in one key area. It ignores the very real consequences of Trump's policies, which have alienated a significant portion of the electorate. This clash of opinions within the Republican Party is essential to understanding why Trump's leadership has become increasingly controversial. His allies see a strong leader who can bring about significant changes to the country, while those who oppose him argue that his leadership is directly responsible for the party's decline. The reality, however, is that the more aggressive Trump and his allies become in forcing the GOP to align with his vision, the more likely they are to alienate key voting blocks. Rather than strengthening the party, these actions risk pushing it further into the political wilderness. The push for a more forceful Trump also reflects the broader political challenges he faces. Despite his efforts, Trump's approval ratings have been consistently low, with many Americans feeling the negative effects of his policies. In particular, the economic pain felt by voters across the country is directly linked to the implementation of his agenda. While Trump's allies argue that more of the same policies will eventually lead to success, the broader public is increasingly skeptical of this approach. The economic struggles caused by Trump's policies have become more apparent, leading to dissatisfaction that is starting to affect not only Trump's popularity but also that of the Republican Party as a whole. The primary reason behind the growing discontent with Trump's leadership lies in the direct effects of his policies. The reality is that Trump has already implemented many of the proposals that his supporters have longed for, yet the consequences have been far from what they envisioned. His agenda has led to a series of policy decisions that have had significant negative repercussions for many Americans. These include controversial moves such as the imposition of tariffs, cuts to Medicaid, and the aggressive stance on immigration. While these policies were highlighted by Trump's core supporters, they have caused widespread economic distress and dissatisfaction among the general public. One of the most notable aspects of Trump's policies is the economic pain they have inflicted on everyday Americans. From the trade wars resulting from tariffs to the cuts in social welfare programs like Medicaid and SNAP, many citizens are now feeling the strain. These moves, seen as key components of Trump's America First agenda, have instead led to increased costs for consumers and a widening gap between the wealthiest Americans and the rest of the population. The economic toll is particularly apparent in swing states, where Trump's approval rating has plummeted, and Republicans are now struggling to maintain their foothold. Rather than benefiting the party, Trump's policies have turned into a political liability. Furthermore, the public's negative reaction to these policies is contributing to a shift in the political landscape. It's not just that Trump's ideas are unpopular, it's the real-world impact he had that has alienated voters. In places that once supported him, voters are now expressing regret. The loss of support in key states has left many Republicans concerned about their political future. As a result, some Republicans have begun distancing themselves from Trump, realizing that his policies are not only unpopular but also politically damaging. The idea that Trump's aggressive actions are somehow necessary to unite the party is becoming increasingly untenable, as evidence shows that his approach is only deepening the divide within the GOP. Trump's policies, such as his hardline immigration stance and the push for mass deportations, have similarly created deep divisions within the country. While these moves have energized his base, they have also sparked protests and backlash, particularly from immigrant communities and civil rights groups. The harm caused by these policies has been exacerbated by the public's growing dissatisfaction with Trump's overall leadership. Many people now see these policies as a reflection of his inability to govern effectively, as opposed to any real attempt at making America stronger. In essence, Trump's agenda has been implemented, but rather than leading to the promised growth and prosperity, it has resulted in a significant drop in his approval ratings and growing discontent among voters. As the 2024 elections approach, the Republican Party is facing a critical crossroads. With Donald Trump's influence weakening, many within the GOP are struggling to navigate the shifting political landscape. The party finds itself at a difficult juncture, as it contends with the fallout from Trump's policies and the growing backlash from both voters and within its own ranks. The question now is whether the GOP can rebuild without Trump's leadership or if it will continue down a path that could alienate key voter groups. Despite the challenges, some of Trump's staunchest supporters, such as Steve Bannon, remain adamant that the solution lies in doubling down on Trump's agenda, pushing for even more radical actions in an attempt to reassert control over the party. Bannon's call for Trump to become even more aggressive in his approach is a reflection of a larger strategy within certain factions of the GOP. For them, the solution to the party's problems isn't in moving away from Trump but in pushing him to take even more drastic measures to consolidate his power. According to this group, Trump needs to be even more forceful in his efforts to bring the party under his control. They argue that only by tightening his grip on the GOP can Trump help the party overcome its current struggles. This rhetoric, however, risks further alienating moderates and independents, pushing them further toward the Democratic side. As the GOP grapples with these internal struggles, it's clear that Trump's grip on the party is loosening, but the path forward is uncertain. Many Republicans are hoping that by distancing themselves from Trump, taken salvage the party's image and regain the trust of voters. This shift is crucial, as public opinion continues to soar on Trump's leadership and policies. The Republican Party's future now hinges on whether it can redefine itself without the polarizing figure of Trump at the helm. If the party can successfully break away from his influence, it might have a chance at regaining its political footing. But if it continues to follow the hardline stance promoted by Trump's allies, it risks further political damage. As the midterm elections draw near, the battle for control within the GOP will be a decisive factor in shaping the future of the party. With Trump's influence beginning to fade, Republicans will need to decide whether they will continue down the path of division or seek to unite under a new vision. The decisions made in the coming month will determine whether the GOP can recover from the damage caused by Trump's leadership or whether it will remain stuck in a cycle of internal conflict. Only time will tell if the party can reinvent itself, but the pressure to act is mounting as voters continue to express their dissatisfaction with the current state of the Republican Party.